It's Monday, April 12th, 2021, and welcome to the reading of the Record Courier. My name is Pam, and we will begin our reading today with the area deaths. Carl Thomas Gilchrist, fondly known as Tomar Tommy, passed away at the age of 76 from complications of Alzheimer's disease on April 4th. A celebration of Tom's life will be held at a later date. Millie and Earl Robertson, husband, wife, and best friends for 71 years, passed away on April 15th, 2020 for Millie, and January 17th, 2021 for Earl. After months of COVID restrictions, a joint memorial service can now be held. All are welcome to attend their service at the Atwater Congregational Church on Saturday, April 17th at 1 p.m., with interment immediately following at Atwater Cemetery. Alma M. Wartko, age 90, went home to be with the Lord on April 8th. Friends and family will be received Monday at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Mogadore from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Funeral Mass will be celebrated at 11 a.m. Dora Watson, age 94, formerly of Kent, passed away April 8th at her son's home in Alabama. There will be no funeral or calling hours. She will be laid to rest at Oakwood Cemetery in Cuyahoga Falls. And that concludes the reading of the area deaths listed in the online edition. So we will continue with our first article. Revitalization up in the air. With Burbick properties for sale, Ken hopes someone local will step up. Bob Gagins and Caitlin McGarvey, Ravenna Record Courier. The death of businessman and visionary Ron Burbick last fall has left Kent business owners and city leaders hoping someone with a similar passion for the city will buy his downtown properties that are now for sale. I'd love to see Acorn Alley remain in the hands of someone who's local or loves the Kent area, either someone who was in Kent originally or someone who is local currently, which would be even better, says Michelle Saar, owner of Red Letter Days and Off the Wagon. She says she worries about what would happen if the properties end up in the hands of a disinterested out-of-town owner. The properties that are for sale include shops, restaurants, and offices bounded by East Erie and East Main Streets to the north and south, DePeyster Street to the east, and Tree City Coffee Company on the East Erie Street and Popped on East Main Street to the west. There is a slight jog mid-block where the property crosses Burbick Way, a one-way road splitting the block. Stephanie English of Progressive Urban Real Estate, an interim property manager, said a deal to sell the properties could be very close. There is currently a private negotiation underway with a reputable potential buyer who has local roots in Kent and who would purchase the entire Acorn portfolio, she said. If those negotiations don't lead to a sale, English said, the property would be listed publicly for sale. The properties are in the name of RLB Phoenix Properties LLC and Genghis Properties LLC, which Burbick controlled. According to Kent Economic Development Director Tom Wilkie, the properties are currently part of Burbick's estate and operated by a trust appointed by the estate. English said Joan Burbick, Ron's widow, would prefer a local owner take control of the properties rather than someone looking to simply maximize profits. Wilkie said he's optimistic any new owner would act in the best interest of the downtown area. There is considerable interest in the properties, and I am sure the trust will select a buyer that will contribute to the community and maintain the momentum of our downtown redevelopment, he said. Metis Construction President Julie Brandel, whose headquarters are located in offices within Acorn Alley, echoed Saar's hope that the new owner would be one who appreciates the history of the development. I think it would be ideal to bring a new owner in who has a mind for the community and a healthy respect for everything that's been done here, Brandel said. She said she thinks it would help if all the locations in the development were filled, but also thinks the 3 retail vacancies will be filled quickly. English said the former locations of Handcrafted, the Franklin Hotel Bar, and Cheesemonger are vacant, as is some office space. Burbick's longtime assistant Michelle Hartman and employee David Stone are no longer with the Burbick Foundation. David Stone and Michelle Hartman are outstanding, English added. They're true local heroes in many ways. I wouldn't be surprised to see them back in the saddle with the new ownership. While she wouldn't disclose the prospective buyer, she said the prospective buyer is well regarded in the community. Beginning in 2003, Berbick chose to use his money to buy Kent properties and remodel them, and was a major catalyst of Kent's downtown rejuvenation. When Berbick died in September 2020, former Record Courier publisher David Dix described Berbick's ability to see the potential in spaces downtown. A group of citizens were beginning to work with Heritage Ohio to form a Main Street group in Kent. By that time, he said the Kent Hotel at the corner of DePeyster and East Main Street was decrepit and at some point had been condemned by the Kent Health Department. We learned he had bought those buildings and decided to fix them up, Dix said at the time. Acorn Alley was a dusty, dirty alley that had probably been there 80 years or 100 years. People were astounded, I think, that Ron did that. City Manager Dave Ruler said the city has offered its resources to the Berbick family to help with the sale. Given the importance of Berbick properties to the success of downtown revitalization, the administration is hoping another community-engaged investor is found, Ruler said. However, real estate is a business, and the current environment created by the COVID-19 pandemic has made it hard to predict success for any new venture. 7 on the short list for Ravenna's superintendent by Diane Smith. 7 people, including principals in Ravenna and Streetsboro, will be interviewed for Ravenna School District's superintendent vacancy in the weeks ahead. The district's Board of Education is looking for a successor to Dennis Honkala, superintendent of the district for the past 10 years. Honkala plans to retire at the end of the school year. Craig McKendry, treasurer of the school district, said the board recently narrowed the list to 7 people. They include Lee Smith, principal of West Main Elementary School in Ravenna, and Vincent Suber, principal of Streetsboro Middle School. The other candidates are Dr. Laura Herbert, principal of Twinsburg High School, Craig Hockenberry, former superintendent and current consultant of the Three Rivers Local School District in Cleves, Ohio, Jude Myers, superintendent of Gallia County Local Schools, Christine Michael, assistant superintendent of Northridge Local Schools in Johnstown, and Dr. Eugene Thomas, superintendent of Lowville Local Schools District in Mahoning County. The board has executive sessions set up for Tuesday and Wednesday to consider the employment of a public employee. McKendry said finalists for the position will be interviewed on April 22nd, and a formal recommendation for the position may be made on April 26th. Hired in 2011 from Buckeye Local Schools, Honkala has worked in education for 33 years before becoming a superintendent and high school administrator. He served as a high school teacher. I'm proud of what we have accomplished in Ravenna over the past decade, Honkala said. We have strong central office and building leadership throughout the district, excellent athletic facilities, and strong community support. That makes it the perfect time to hand this role to a new leader, and any leader would be fortunate to work for this school board and serve this community. He said his most satisfying accomplishments include building community relationships that persuaded businesses to donate $800,000 for the stadium renovation. In 2013, the Momentum Award from the State of Ohio for academic accomplishments in 2016, the recent reorganization of the district, and leading the district through the COVID-19 pandemic. Last year, he worked to create, implement, and facilitate the Ravenna Schools Equity and Inclusion Task Force. I am excited to relax for a short while, but I still have energy left, and I believe that my calling will always be in some type of public service, he said. Being an old government teacher, I have always wanted to serve in local government. I may have an opportunity to do just that in the upcoming year. Honkala lives in New Franklin in Summit County. His predecessor, Tim Calfee, serves on Ravenna City Council. FEMA COVID-19 Funeral Assistance starts Monday by Jessica Holbrook. Hundreds of thousands of families who lost someone to COVID-19 are eligible for some financial relief for funeral expenses. Starting Monday, the Federal Emergency Management Agency will open applications for COVID-19 related funeral assistance. Eligible people can apply to recover up to $9,000 of qualifying funeral or burial expenses incurred after January 20th, 2020. Families with multiple deaths can recoup up to $35,000. The program is part of the latest COVID-19 relief bill. At FEMA, our mission is to help people before, during, and after disasters, Acting FEMA Administrator Bob Fenton said in a prepared statement. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused immense grief for so many people. Although we cannot change what has happened, we affirm our commitment to help with funeral and burial expenses that many families did not anticipate. To file a claim, you need to call a toll-free hotline set up by FEMA. The phone line, 844-684-6333. Opens at 9 a.m. Monday and will remain open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Those who use a teletypewriter device can dial 800-462-7585. The initial application process is being done by phone rather than through email or fax to make it more personal for grieving families, said John L. Arnold, president of Arnold Funeral Homes, which has locations in Canton and Hartville. Before you call, you'll want to gather some information and make sure you're eligible. Who's eligible? Someone is eligible to recoup expenses if the death occurred in the United States. The death certificate says that COVID-19 attributed to the death. The applicant is a U.S. citizen, non-citizen national, or qualified immigrants who incurred funeral expenses after January 20th, 2020. The deceased does not have to meet those requirements. You'll also want to gather information about any expense you've incurred, including a copy of the death certificate that says death was related to COVID-19 and occurred in the United States. Proof of any funeral-related expenses, such as receipts or a funeral home contract. Those documents should have the name of the deceased, the name of the applicant, the amount incurred, and the date of those expenses. Proof of any outside funds that went to those expenses. According to FEMA, funeral assistance won't duplicate funds received from some source, including burial or funeral insurance, not life insurance, or assistance from voluntary agencies, government programs or agencies, or other sources. Once you have an application open and documents gathered, you'll be asked to submit them by mail, fax, or at a disasterassistance.gov. Payments will be made through check or direct deposit. FEMA warning families about scams. FEMA is already warning families to watch out for funeral assistance scams. FEMA will not contact people until they have called to open an application. The agency warned that people should never disclose private information, including the name, birth date, or social security number of any deceased family member, to any unsolicited phone call or email. You can report scams to local law enforcement or call the FEMA helpline at 800-621-3362 or the National Center for Fraud hotline at 866-720-5721. Ask a funeral director for help. No one is ever really prepared for someone to die, but death during the pandemic came at a particularly difficult time when many were also dealing with the economic fallout of COVID-19, says Nancy Castellucci, a funeral director at Cassidy Turkle Christian Funeral and Cremation Service and Alliance and regional director of the Ohio Funeral Director Association. While our families have rallied amongst themselves to get things taken care of, obviously there have been struggles, she said. There's been so many struggles, and this just compounds it, emotionally, financially, and in every possible way. Funeral expenses can vary depending on the type of service and burial. The average cremation and burial runs about $3,000 to $5,000, and burial with a casket about $7,000 to $10,000, Arnold said, noting that those costs can fluctuate significantly. The FEMA reimbursement most certainly would cover the lion's share of everything for everybody, he said. Funeral costs can be quite substantial, and many don't consider the cost of expenses such as obituaries, flowers, headstones, and ministry services, Castellucci said. All of those items add up. Funeral homes keep a record of all those expenses, as well as death certificates, and should have them readily available, Arnold said. I can guarantee all of us will bend over backwards to get them, whatever they need to file these claims, he said. Families need to apply on their own, But families have to take the first step. Funeral directors can't apply on behalf of clients, he said. We'll help them any way we can, but we can't make the phone call for them, Arnold said. Even if people didn't use a funeral home or are unsure of how to get started, they can reach out to a local funeral director with questions, Castellucci said. That's our goal. Our goal is to assist our families. And of course, we'd assist families that weren't our families, she said. Industry associations have offered online training for funeral directors to get them up to speed on the program, she said. That's my best advice. Reach out to your local funeral home, she said. Absentee voting for primary starts by Diane Smith. Absentee voting, both in person and by mail, has begun in Portage County for the May 4th primary election. In person, early voting will run through May 3rd and take place at Portage County Board of Elections, 449 South Meridian Street, Ravenna. While most voters will only see questions and issues on their ballots, candidates also will appear on the ballot for Streetsboro voters and some Brimfield voters. Voters in Streetsboro will nominate nonpartisan candidates for council at large, where a field of 7 candidates will be narrowed to 6 for November. Meanwhile, voters in Brimfield A, Split 2, and Brimfield E, Split 2, may nominate Republican council at large candidates for the city of Talmadge. All other precincts in Portage County will have a questions and issues only ballot. Throughout the county, there will be a total of 11 questions and issues for voters to consider. There is one countywide issue for Portage County Children's Services, which is seeking an additional tax levy of 0.5 mil. The remaining questions and issues will only appear on ballots in the appropriate districts. Ballot issues before voters include a zoning map amendment in Aurora, a 4.4 mil renewal levy for current expenses in Hiram, a 1.5 mil renewal levy for roads and bridges in Atwater, a 1 mil renewal levy for current expenses in Nelson, and 4 school issues including a 1.25% earned income tax for Crestwood, a 4.5 mil renewal levy for Rootstown, a 1.5% earned income tax in Waterloo, and a 1.5 mil levy for permanent improvements in Windham. Portage County voters in the Springfield School District will also consider an 0.75% additional income tax levy for the school district, and voters in the Akron-Summit County Public Library District will consider a 1.9 mil renewal levy for general permanent improvement. Early voting will take place at the Board of Elections between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through April 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. April 26th through April 30th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on May 1st from 1 to 5 p.m. on May 2nd, and 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday, May 3rd. Voters planning to cast a ballot by mail must submit a new request for each. Early voting will take place at the Board of Elections between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through April 23rd from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. April 26th through April 30th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on May 1st, from 1 to 5 p.m. on May 2nd, and 2 to 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday, May 3rd. I'm sorry, I messed it up. On May 1st from 1 to 5 p.m. On May 2nd, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and also on May 3rd, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Requests for a ballot by mail should be submitted as soon as possible. Applications are available online at www.portagecountyohio.gov/board-elections or by calling the Board of Elections at 330-297-3511. The county also has a drop box for ballots in the administration building parking lot, and ballots dropped off there must be submitted no later than 7:30 p.m. on Election Day in order to be counted. Group raising funds for new playground. The Kiwanis Club of Ravenna hopes to reach $85,000 for a community project by Bob Gagins. The Kiwanis Club of Ravenna marked its 100th anniversary this month, and to celebrate its plans to raise $85,000 to provide an ADA-compliant playground for Community Action Council. The playground, bought from Penchura, is being planned in partnership with the Community Action Council for its youth center at the former Boys and Girls Club on North Walnut Street in Ravenna. We were hoping to be able to start installing in July, and it's going to be a community build, said Ravenna Kiwanis Club President Eric Schlabach. We were going to get community members to do the installation along Penchura and their people. Community Action Council Executive Director David Shea said the youth center will not have summer camp this year due to the pandemic, so it's a good opportunity to install the playground equipment. Currently, the area where the playground will be installed is dominated by a few basketball hoops, a volleyball net, and some picnic tables. Shea said the population served by the center is younger than it used to be, and basketball hoops aren't age appropriate for all the children that participate in the center's after school and summer camp programs. The age group that comes there has kind of changed over the years, and now it's a much younger group, generally between the ages of 5 and 12, said Shea, who said he's delighted the Kiwanis Club has elected to help out. We were ecstatic because we've been trying to figure out how to do it. That's the only program of that nature in that part of Ravenna. Schlabach said the installation also will include a rubberized surface for children to play on and ADA access ramping for children. Amy Adams, a Kiwanis Club board member and former director of after-school planning for the Community Action Council, said there will be 2 areas with ramps, one from the door at the end of a hallway to the playground and the other from the kitchen to the playground, located between the main youth center building and an accessory structure. That area between the buildings also will be the location of a patio featuring bricks that will be sold to the community as a major part of the fundraising for the project, said Schlabach. According to a brochure for the brick sale, families and community members can purchase a 4-inch by 8-inch brick for $200 that will provide space for 3 lines of text with up to 20 characters per line. Those who want more space to leave their permanent mark on the project can buy an 8 by 8-inch brick for $500, which provides space for a company logo or 6 lines of text with up to 20 characters per line. Those with questions about the brick sale may email Schlabach at eric@ericschlabach.com. 100 years of community service, or Ravenna Kiwanis Club. For Ravenna Kiwanis Club. Over the years, the Ravenna Kiwanis Club has served as a leader locally, nationally, and internationally for Kiwanis from 1960 to about 1995. The club's membership was around 90 members, and that was harnessed to develop Kiwanis clubs in Ridgetown, Streetsboro, Hiram, Twinsburg, and Stowe. In 1998 and 99, then club president Wayne Enders served as state governor of Ohio Kiwanis and eventually served as international chairman of Young Children Priority 1. During the Great Depression and World War II, the club helped those in economic peril by collecting money, metal, and newspapers. The Kiwanis Club spanned its first Key Club, a high school-based sister organization in the 1940s, and sponsored scout groups for more than 40 years. Over the years, the club has raised tens of thousands of dollars through a variety of fundraisers for various causes, including the well-attended Election Pancake Day, Lunch, and Supper. I don't usually interject, but I'm going to. I, many years ago, was lieutenant governor for the area that also served Ravenna, and I'm very proud to see them do such a wonderful, wonderful project. Streetsboro considers garage sale regulations by Caitlin McGarvey. Members of Streetsboro City Council agree that garage sales needed to be regulated in the city, but so far have been unable to agree on how to do it. Last year, Planning and Zoning Director John Seskowska told City Council that the city has experienced issues with perpetual garage sales. To address those, city administrators felt it made sense to ask Council's approval language that regulates garage sales in general. What was created was considered by those who drafted it to be in line with most other communities. According to the draft legislation, garage sales could not begin before 9 a.m., would institute a 28-day period in between garage sales taking place at the same location, would allow only one sign to advertise the sale on the property, and would enact a $15 permit fee. Councilman John Rudiger said that while he understood the issue with perpetual garage sales and was okay with limiting the number of garage sales throughout the summer, he said some aspects of the proposed legislation seemed overboard. He said he foresaw citizens being upset about the $15 fee, especially considering that these kinds of sales have been going on in the city for a very long time. Councilman Justin Ring called the legislation a case of over-legislating, though he understood the need. Limiting the hours of garage sales is a good, Ring said, but he was not in favor of other parts of the proposed legislation. Councilman Chuck Cosico said $15 is too much for a permit and 9 a.m. too late of a starting time. Starts at 8 o'clock, don't change any more than $5, he said. Councilman Mike Lampa questioned who would be tasked with enforcing the ordinance on the weekends when most garage sales take place. Members agreed it should not fall to the police department. Revamped legislation will be discussed at the April 12th Service Committee meeting. Applications sought for nursing scholarship. Applications are being accepted for the Auxiliary of UH Portage Medical Center Scholarship Program. Each year, the Auxiliary awards two $1,000 scholarships to local graduating high school seniors who plan to pursue a career in nursing. Eligible students must reside in Portage County, are scheduled to graduate from high school this spring with a minimum 2.5 GPA, and be accepted to an accredited 2 or 4-year institution of higher education with plans to study nursing. Application essay, school documentation form, and recommendation letters must be returned to the attention of the auxiliary at UH Portage Medical Center by April 15th. Application packets are available through high school guidance counselors in Portage County or by contacting the UH Portage Medical Center volunteer office at 330-297-2591. That concludes the reading of the Record Courier for today, Monday, April the 12th. Please be well until we are together again. My name is Pam, and thank you for inviting me into your home. Be blessed.